Hi dear students, welcome back to another session of Human Resource Management. Here I am going to discuss in the session of 31 on the topic factors affects for job design. This is the new version of what do you call the comparing with job analysis. Job analysis I mentioned in the previous 7 to 8 session. I mentioned there it's all about the issues relating to the job analysis. Now, in regard to the job design, that how job design will be prepared in an organization and also in the company, both in private sector and in public sector respectively. Let's see what are the factors will affect for job design. Before that, which factors will affect the job design? Let's give an introduction part to understand that what is all about job design. Job design is next to job analysis, what I said in the earlier. Job design involves systematic attempts to organize tasks, duties, and responsibilities into a unit of work to achieve certain objectives, which is incorporated by the organization and also by the companies. Otherwise, as I discussed in the previous session, that objectives of job analysis, already I said, in those objectives we have to make it out that type of objective which will achieve the what do you call the improvement of that level of production, and also to meet the task and then duties, responsibilities under that organization, which will be a systematic one. Job design integrates the work content and qualifications required for each job that meets the needs of employee and the organization. Job design makes the job highly specialized, and well-designed jobs are important in attracting and retaining a motivated workforce according to the organization. This is how the job designs will always integrated with many factors. Either it may be the qualifications, or it may be the age factor, or it may be the qualification, particularly technical qualification matters, and also the how employee will meet the needs of the organization. All these things will be designed under the job. Job design makes the job highly specialized and well designed according to the importance and then attracting of the workforce, particularly from that organization, which will be allotted to the employee, or you may call it as recruited employee. According to Michael Armstrong, as I making the meaning of job design, that is job analysis will always depends on job design. According to Michael Armstrong, job design is the process of deciding on the content where the content of job in terms of its duties and responsibilities, on the methods to be used in carrying out of job in terms of techniques. That is in the part of systems and also in the part of procedures that they must follow, and on the relationship that should exist between the job holder and his supervisor, subordinates, and also colleagues. Job design is affected by three categories of factors. In the next slide I mentioned there are organizational factors are mentioned, environmental factors, and also the last one is, yes, two factors are I incorporated in my PPT. Let's see, these are all the factors how these things should be affected in the arena of the categorically, that where how the derivatives are the variables comes under in these two factors. Number one is organizational factors and also the environmental factors. Number one is organizational factors. Under these factors, there are four sub factors arises which will affect the job design. The organizational factors that affect job designs are characterized of task, workflow, and ergonomics, and also work practices. Let's discuss one by one. Number one is characteristics of task. Each task consists of three elements, namely planning, executing, and controlling. As I said in the previous session, that while we are formulating the human resource planning, there are two branches are there. One is formulation of the policy, and another one is the implementation of policy. Both are working their own job, and then they are not at all intersect with each other, because formulation is a different job. To make it out, formulation of policy is altogether a different aspect while we compare with the implementation of that policy. So that is how policy should be considered to make it out the planning and then execute and then controlling the job design, which will involve the assembly of the number of tasks into a job or a group of jobs where that employee is recruited in that particular company. A job may require an employee to perform a variety of connected tasks. All these characteristics of jobs are taken into consideration for job design. This is how the task should be featured according to the job design, where the consideration fact is that employee connected to organization or not, which are also always to be evaluated in this factor. The second one is workflow. The workflow of work in an organization is strongly influenced by the nature of product. This product usually suggests that sequence and balance between jobs if the work is to be completed efficiently. Workflow is one where that employee is going to complete the assigned work. If anything left is there, balance work is there in the sequence order. In the upcoming days, he must complete that work which is allotted by or which is assigned by the organization, which will always be suggested that sequence of the balanced work should be always completed effectively and then efficiently. Then only the workflow will comes, and then other assignments will be assigned to the employee. Ergonomics is the one aspect which will always concerned with the designing and shaping of the jobs as per the physical abilities and then characteristics of individuals, so that they can perform their jobs effectively and efficiently. Because ergonomics is one that where you must when you are going to designing that job with the help of the policies, we have to shape it out and then give the what do you call a little bit of factors which will influence the nature and the scope of that organization, and also which will influence the product which they are producing to introduce to the market. Either it may be the world market or it may be to the domestic market. And the last one is that work practices. That is, work practices is all about are set the methods of performing the work. This can be affect the job design, as there is a little flexibility in designing the job, especially if the work practices are approved by employee unions. Because work practices are not there systematically in that organization, the job design not may become accurately, because organizational setup is one where scientific and then systematic way of receiving the newcomers should be appear in the course of time. Then the workforce is there to allot that work, and then which is always to be practiced under this work. So these are all the four factors, characteristics of task, workflow, ergonomics, and then work practices are the four factors under organizational factors which is always affects for job designing. Moving on to the second slide of my PPT, where you people are going to get the factors of environment. The second factors of which will affect for job designing is environmental factors, where organizational composition must be necessary. At the same time, within that organization, how environmental issues must influence to affect for job designing. Let's see one by one. Environmental factor affect the job designing as here. Environmental factors includes employee abilities and availability of human manpower and social and cultural expectations, particularly behavioral factors, feedback, autonomy, and then use of abilities. Altogether, we will consider under environmental factors. Let's see one by one. Employee abilities and availability. Employee abilities and then availability, which is always the factor which will influence on the people play, where which is an important role while designing the jobs. Due attention needs to be given to the employee who will actually perform the job, where the ability and then availability of the factor of that human manpower is considered, then that manpower requirement will be accordingly where the in that organization will be the serious matter, because actually the performance of job will be considered altogether, because which will give always attention where there is a need of employee satisfaction must also be considered the ability and then availability of that particular employee, because if there is irregular or absenteeism continues, then the environmental situation or the circumstances of that organization completely devastating. Second one is the social and cultural expectations. Social and cultural expectation job should be designed keeping the employee in mind. Due to increase in literacy rate and knowledge, employees are now more aware and only perform jobs that are to their liking and match their profile. See, this is one profile is a big issue, because a profile is one which will meet all the ingredient, I want to say here, ingredient of that employee, because a profile is one which will meet the or which will analyze the characteristics or features of that employee. If you are going to give it to the organization, which will always match with organization and always link to organization, because employee and then organization are always having the behavioral factors, because nonetheless if the behavior is comes a little bit down in the organization, the environmental condition may be collapse. Next one is feedback. Employee should be given proper feedback about his job performance. This will be enable the employee to improve his performance and complete the job in a proper manner, because otherwise feedback are not going to be given by the analyst or the human resource manager. I don't think so that the level of production in the organization, at the same time what type of rectification has to be taken in the work nature, or what type of workforce they assigned by the organization, and then the rectification should be necessary only through the feedback. He may rectify himself, that employee, and then that employee enable themselves to improve and then give more performance to complete that work which is assigned by according to the workforce. In that proper manner, the employee must give feedback to the analyst. And then the next one is autonomy. Autonomy is nothing but give complete power to the employee. Employee should be given proper autonomy required to perform the work. The absence of autonomy may lead to poor performance on the part of employees. This is one factor that I want to identify, the factor which will affect the job designing, particularly under environmental factor, because if that employee is recruited according to the skills, and then if that employee is recruited or selected according to the what do you call his qualification, education qualification, or according to the technical qualification, in that expertise, that organization or the company must give autonomy to the employee, where the good quality of the production may get. Otherwise, if you are going to what do you call if you are going to rub it out the issue and then hang out him his hands by rope, I don't think so that we will get the good quality production. Autonomy must give to the employee using his skills and his knowledge. He may produce a good quality of products, and then he may increase a good performance rather than giving a poor performance, particularly in that part of the work where he is assigned. Next one is the use of abilities. The job should be designed in such a manner that an employee will be able to use his abilities fully and perform the job effectively. Abilities of that, how do you call it, the capacity building of that employee always be the manner to be considered, because he is only a person that how could he is fully involved in job effectiveness, and then how he is involved in his job workforce will always to be serious concern, while the which will influence one of the factors under environmental factors. Otherwise, autonomy or use of abilities are not going to be considered seriously. I don't think so. The organization environment is intact with the employee. Last one is variety. This variety factor is always influence to affect the job design, particularly under environmental factors. Observe job assigned may lead to boredom. As I yes, there is a in job satisfaction. If you want to get in job rely upon that what you call the nature and the scope of that job designing is not pakka towards employee, the automatically employee will get boredom, so that he may have poor performance in the organization. At the same time, he may get absent, and then due to that absent, the lack of workforce may appear to the organization. So varieties should be there in that job design. Adequate scope to variety factors should be given while designing a job, because scope has not been given to the employee. I don't think so that designing the job will be considered seriously, and which will get more important as far as job designing as concerned. This is what the factors affecting for job design. I mentioned nearly two main factors, that is, one is organizational factors, and then second one is environmental factors. With having these two factors, I have subdivided into many factors which I explained in detail. Obviously, in my last slide, as I taken the source of references, dear students, please follow this source of reference for more detail to get more information on the this chapter, that is on job analysis and job design. This is in particular about the factors which will affecting to job design. So with this, I will stop here. I will come up with new topic in the new session. So bye for now.